It's tourney time. And with FanDuel's Dog of the Day, you could get a daily profit boost during the College Conference Championships to bet on any underdog. So get ready to celebrate some upsets.
No one saw that coming, except for me, baby.
21 plus in present in select states. Opt-in required. Minimum plus 100 odds required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Welcome into 49ers Access. My name is Sterling Bennett, and today I'm going to give you something a little different on the podcast. I joined Aaron from 49ers First Takes, and we reacted to my latest mock draft, 7 rounds of the San Francisco 49ers, trying to predict who I think will go at each pick for San Francisco. It includes some trades. I get into some of the weeds as to which prospects I think the Niners are going to like on day 2 and day 3. And I even gave my prediction, or one of my predictions, of one of the prospects I think may go at number 11. I hope you enjoy it. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Give us that 5-star review. You can also follow us on social media at 49ers_access is the X or Twitter. 49ers.access is the Instagram, and go ahead and use that promo code 49ersaccess, 49ERSACCESS at SeatGeek.com to save yourself $20 off your first purchase. Here is my mock draft 3.5. I hope you enjoy it. Go ahead and comment down below. Do you like it? And which prospects do you think San Francisco should take? So without further ado, here is myself and Aaron of 49ers First Takes reacting to and dissecting my Niners 7-round NFL mock draft version 3.5.
So with the number 11 pick, and I've seen him mocked a lot later in some of the previous mock drafts I've seen.
Yeah.
You have Mikel Williams out of Georgia, edge, picked at number 11. Any thinking behind his jump up? I mean, at least maybe in my eyes, from what I did early on, he was a little bit farther down. I would say closer to the second round. But I have seen him also on some other people's drafts of him a little higher. What's the story on Mikel Williams?
Yeah, so first going into this, if I was the 49ers, and I was John Lynch and I was picking, I would not take Michael Williams at all. I would rather have Walter Nolan, Derek Harmon, Mike Green. I know he has some red flags, personal issues that may or may not be a problem for them. I don't think that Michael Williams has the high-end potential to be this amazing edge rusher. He doesn't have the bend you want to be an explosive pass rusher. He's shown a willingness to learn, but if you listen to what Matt Barrows said and Tim Kawakami said, and Barrows was like, yeah, they're probably going to go Michael Williams or Shamar Stewart. And when I first heard that, I was like, no, that sounds like a bad idea. I don't want either one of those guys at 11. In fact, Shamar Stewart made my do not draft at 11 episode I did. So I get it. He's a scheme fit, but I just don't like taking tradesy players that don't produce in college. There's many reasons as to why people don't produce in college, and some of those differ from prospect to prospect. But in Michael Williams' case, he's 6'5", 265 pounds, had a 70.6 pass rush grade at Georgia, an 82.9 run defense grade. He had 6 sacks and 11.6 pass rush win rate. You can maybe say he was kind of hindered by an ankle injury last year, and I wouldn't tell you you're wrong. But he's super lengthy, 34 and 3/8 inch arms. He'll fill run gaps. He can reach ball carriers, reach those mobile quarterbacks, kind of get out of the pocket. A violent player. I think he's one of the best edge setting run defenders in this year's class. San Francisco needs that desperately. The only question is, despite the great anchor and the strength and the length, can he become a top tier pass rusher opposite Nick Bosa? And again, I would not make this move, but I think they may. I am down to 2 prospects at 11. It's Walter Nolan and Michael Williams. And I think both those guys are going to be in contention for that pick when it's all said and done. I just wonder, because Michael Williams, the way Georgia played him, he plays outside, but he plays like an interior defensive lineman. So there is the inside-outside versatility that Saleh likes, Kocurek likes from his edge rushers. And there has been a desire to grow, to learn. So he's a very coachable player at the edge group. And I think if you get that base run defense down, I think sometimes coaches are a little egotistical and go, oh, I can change him. I can fix him. He's that girl kind of dates the bad boy of like, Mom, I can fix him. He's not that bad. And it's like, well, I mean, there's some hope. There's glimmers there of like, hey, he's a great player. But sometimes a run defending edge rusher usually is your third guy, your fourth guy, not your first guy. And I think the Niners viewed themselves, well, we got Robert Saleh back. We got Kocurek. We can change him. We can fix him. So I think they may do that at 11. But I would not do that whatsoever. I would take Nolan, Mike Green, and you can maybe pitch me on Derek Harmon, who I do like a lot, at 11 as well.
Fluffy Ninja in the comments said, should the Niners move up for Mason Graham?
So right now, if you had to ask me, the top 4 picks will be Cam Ward, Tennessee, Travis Hunter, Cleveland Browns, Mason Graham goes 3 to the Giants, and Adil Carter goes 4 to the Patriots. So you're going to have to get to 3 or 4, I think, at least, to get Mason Graham. I don't think San Francisco wants to make a trade up for a prospect. I don't think many of those players or teams inside the top 4 want to trade back. The Jaguars are interesting, though. I think once or if Mason Graham and Abdul Carter somehow fall to 5, that's where things get interesting, because some teams will start calling up. And I would not be shocked to hear San Francisco make a call. However, can San Francisco really afford to trade from 11 to 6, 11 to 5? Those teams are going to ask for this year's first, next year's first, and a second. And San Francisco has to be able to hit on these picks to revitalize the roster. So I don't think, even if they wanted to, they have enough capital to make a trade up, because they're going to have to give up next year's first rounder as well.
I mean, I've heard the report. No, I hear it. I heard, there's people reporting stuff that the Niners want to trade up into the top 6. So they've been calling teams, and they have interest. Just don't see it with the amount of needs that they need to be filled in this draft. I don't see them.
It would be different if, like, the Saints at 9, like they don't want a quarterback at 9 if Mason Graham falls or somebody San Francisco likes is there. And San Francisco wants to make it a point to get ahead of the Bears at 10. I can see that happening, or even the Panthers, who want to recoup some of their picks after they traded up for Bryce Young a couple of years ago. But top 6 teams, top 5 teams, I think they're just staying put. They're staying put.
You go defensive lineman again at pick 43. This doesn't look like a move. You didn't do any trading back on this one either.
I made some trades later in the draft.
Later
on day 2 to kind of round out the roster. But I made it the point to say, look, I don't think many teams want to trade. Like, most teams don't want to trade up in the first round unless one of those blue chippers fall, which feels like it's not going to happen. And then on day 2, a lot of teams want to hoard their picks, knowing that this year's draft, the sweet spot is day 2. This draft is really hard to separate, because if you go to the defensive tackle room, it's Mason Graham, it's Walter Nolan, who are the 2, I think, top 2 guys who are probably the more trade-seer players. Then it's Kenneth Grant, Derek Harmon, guys who are probably going to be overall 10-year vets and good players. And then it's a bunch of, okay, scheme fits, guys you like, but don't fit what you want to do, and more of like specialist kind of players, pass rushers, run stuffers. The same thing goes for edge, where it's like, you love Abdul Carter, you love Mike Green minus the red flags, but then it's like, after that, it's a bunch of like, maybe not high-end prospects, but higher floor players. Then it's like a lot of schematic fit issues, like James Pierce Jr., I don't think fits San Francisco's scheme at all. I think he's a 3-4 outside linebacker. And I don't think he fits what they want to do defensively. So maybe I'm wrong there, and that's cool. I don't mind being wrong if they're a great player. But I think Michael Williams fits what they want to do defensively more than James Pierce Jr. does. And I think that at pick 43, if you go run stuffer edge rusher, you have to find a bigger body space eater on the interior. This team has to eat space to free up guys like Nick Bosa and hopefully free up Mike Williams on the opposite side too.
Darius Alexander, would you consider him more of an interior pass rusher or a run stuffer?
Darius Alexander, to me, is one of the more well-rounded players. I think there's a chance he gets taken a little earlier on day 2, probably in the 30s, but early 40s, I think, is a good spot for him. I know the mock draft has him ranked 53rd. However, if you don't get Nolan, if they don't like Nolan enough, if they don't get Derek Harmon, he wasn't there at the time, who I'd love to get on this team on the interior. I'm not a big TJ Sanders guy. I think you have to make your picks count this year. You can't take a guy on day 2 who you're like, well, he's a great pass rusher, but then you're like, he's off the field on second and first down. You can't do that. Like, this team needs starters that can play 2 to 3 downs for you. And I don't think that guys like TJ Sanders can do so, albeit I think Saleh loves him out of South Carolina. But I think Darius Alexander is one of the more underrated players. I think Brian Baldinger talked about him this past week. He's 6'3", 305 pounds, a sixth-year senior, so he's more proven, 25 years old as a rookie, 34-inch arms. So you're getting a 34 3/8-inch arm to Michael Williams as an edge rusher, and you're getting a 34-inch arm, 305-pound interior guy to pair with him. I dare you to run against this team. Like, you're not going nowhere. Saquon Barkley, other guys that are top backs in football, you're going to have a hard time getting in between the tackles and freeing up space to maneuver. But he also had a 77.8 pass rushing grade last year, 37 pressures, 4 sacks, similar to Michael Williams, 11.8 pass rush win rate, 23 run stops, and also, for your shorter quarterbacks, 6 batted balls the last 2 seasons.
Something I never see. The Niners, I mean, teams do it to us all the time, and because Brock's smaller. But, man, I don't think can you remember a time in the past where the Niners have had defensive linemen that have knocked down passes? It's been quite a bit of time. I don't even remember anybody in the past, really.
The last one I can think of, didn't Javon Kinlaw knock one down his rookie season, then pick it off to run for a touchdown against the Rams?
Yes.
That's the last one I can think of.
And he's freaking doo-doo butter. I mean, he was a bad player too. So that's not saying much. So we jump up to pick 75.
Yeah.
It says interior offensive lineman, so I'm assuming he can kind of move around guard, center. Charles Grant from William and Mary. I'm looking at the grades on the screen. This is a B+ grade.
Yeah.
It's weird because the Niners are so bereft of talent on defensive line. Anytime I see any mock drafts that have them picking nothing but defensive linemen, I question it. So, but they do need. I would love. I mean, he's not going to play his rookie year because Kyle doesn't like rookies. The thinking and the thought process behind Charles Grant at pick 75.
Yeah, I think before we get into Charles Grant, I just want to highlight this about Darius Alexander.
Okay.
In my notes, I have he's an annihilator of offensive linemen. I think that's, again, you can take my words for granted or whatnot, pitch of salt, whatever, but I think he is he's going to be a great player wherever he goes, whether it's San Francisco. I am begging Philadelphia to not get him, or the Rams to not get him. If anything, if he's going to go anywhere, please be the Chargers, not anyone in the NFC. But when it comes to Charles Grant, I've kind of bounced back and forth as to, do the San Francisco 49ers need to get a right tackle this year? Colton McKivitz has been okay. He's fine. I don't hate him. I don't love him. He's just kind of there, does some good things, does some bad things. He cannot absorb a bull rush to save his life, but he's good enough to be a right tackle in the NFL. Good run blocker, but he's gone after this year. He's going to be a free agent after this year. They can bring him back, but who knows? They could say, go get 10 mil elsewhere, give us a comp pick and call it a day. And I wouldn't be shocked. You can also have the conversation of, do the San Francisco 49ers need to protect themselves if Trent Williams gets hurt and or retires after this season? And that's where I've been, on the teeter-totter of like, no, they don't. They need defensive linemen. You can get an edge rusher here and you just beef it up and give Saul whatever he wants. But then I'm like, well, that's great, but you also have to protect yourself. You lose Jalen Moore, and there's no promise somebody like Charles Grant will be there at tackle next year. This year's draft alone in itself doesn't really have bona fide tackles. You have Will Campbell,
So
who
essentially it'd be a reach if they were to try to make something work that in a weaker draft. So the interior does seem like the best fit then, if you're thinking it along those lines.
Well, and to be clear, I don't think Charles Grant is just a guard. He can play tackle. He's 6'4", 300 pounds with 35-inch arms. He meets the criteria to be a tackle.
Yes.
And so I think he fits what they want to do. Last year, only 10 pressures allowed, 87.3 pass blocking grade, 89.9 run blocking grade, only 2 quarterback hits allowed all year long. The only question really is, at William and Mary, are you facing like top tier NFL talent? Probably not, but that's why, to me, in year one, you ask him, can you play left guard? Can you be a swing tackle on the emergency for us? You learn from Trent Williams for a year, and even if Trent comes back after the season, Charles Grant becomes your right tackle, and you have 2 bona fide studs kind of bookending your offensive line. He's a former wrestler, so he's an explosive athlete, gets out the ball quick. He has good balance. I think there's a real chance, if you wanted to push it, right tackle, right guard, left tackle, I think he can kind of do it all minus center. And I think the Niners, again, it may be a reach to some at 75, but there really are not many bona fide tackles. You have Will Campbell, who probably will start at tackle, then go to guard because of the arm length he has, although I think he's a heck of a player. He'll probably go inside the top 7 or 9. Then you have guys like Armin Nembu, and Josh Simmons has the patellar injury. Is he healthy or not? You like Josh Connerly, but I would not be shocked to watch him go to the Houston Texans late in this draft, where the Dolphins at 13 or 14 this year. So you kind of get, there are some slim pickings on day 2, and you have to find the guys you like. And if you can get Darius Alexander at 43, you can get Charles Grant at 75. You're getting yourself a guy that can help you on the interior in year 1, and maybe in year 2 becomes a starter because he has all the talent to be a wide zone phenom for you if everything clicks for him on the offensive line.
This episode is brought to you by Honda. Introducing the all-new, all-terrain Honda Passport Trail Sport, the most off-road capable Honda Passport Honda has ever dreamt up. The Passport features increased ground clearance, roof rails on all trims, and available specially developed all-terrain tires. And you'll stay comfortable with tri-zone climate control and available features like heated and ventilated front seats and a panoramic moonroof. Learn more at honda.com/passport.
Nice. Those really long arms, though, when you saw 35. That's 35-inch arms for an interior and offensive lineman. But that's
like why he's probably going to be a tackle.
That's what I'm saying. That's tackle length arms right there. Because
Exactly.
I know who would the Niners draft? A lot of people. I'm trying to think of the player that they had. A lot of people wanted to see him play tackle. Someone they drafted, but he had really short arms, and I just can't think for the life of who he was, either last year or the year before. But people call things out during training camp and OTAs about players. They try to place players, in different positions, and one of the positions was tackle. But the overarching conversation was the lack of arm length, which it looks like Charles Grant does not have that issue. So that's a good thing.
The Niners are so particular about their tackles and their offensive linemen. And there's a reason why they don't pick guys in the first, second round usually. Like McGlinchey's kind of the outlier. Banks has been kind of the outlier. They traded for Trent Williams for a 3rd-round pick, and it kind of shows you, what they're willing to do. On the offensive line, they plugged and played John Feliciano, Jake Brendel, and Daniel Brunskill, and guys like that, Mike Person, guys who have been these kind of journeyman veterans that they think they can get the most out of, and say, okay, not a great pass blocker, but if you're on the interior, you're a little more protected. So they're really particular about their guys. And I think in a draft like this, you can maybe have the conversation at 43 about Jonah Sabanea from Arizona. Probably going to be a tackle guard at the NFL level. He's an awesome player too, fits the scheme, but he's already gone at this point in time. But I love Charles Grant. I think he'll go in the 60s, 70 range. And I think if tackles go early, like if you see Josh Simmons go early, gear up because there's going to be a run somewhere. And if you don't get one and you miss out, you can be in trouble. This team needs a swing tackle in the worst way.
They do.
Jalen Moore's gone. Austin Pleasance ain't the guy. Like, he ain't the guy. So I love Charles Grant so much. I hope they get him, and I think he'd be great in San Francisco.
Nice. We go to pick 100. Chris Paul Jr., not the basketball player, people. At linebacker. Definitely a move I would like to see, considering the loss of Dre Greenlaw. Chris Paul Jr. What kind of guy we looking at Chris Paul Jr., the type of linebacker? Because you look at Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw, and they're kind of that downhill, undersized type of linebacker. So again, I'm here to learn. I would love to hear about Chris Paul Jr.
Yeah, I've been rather kind of perplexed as to what the Niners think of their linebackers, because I really like D. Winters. He just isn't great against the run, but he's one of the best graded coverage players in football last year. And I think that there is potential for D. Winters to become a starter next to Fred Warner, if he already isn't at this point in time. But the way they went about trying to get back Dre Greenlaw, I don't know if that was an indication of disbelief in D. Winters, or it was simply we just love Dre Greenlaw so much. And I've been trying to figure that out in my head. That said, this linebacker class, to put it frankly, sucks. If you wait until day 3, you're not getting a good one. I don't know if San Francisco really needs to get one. Again, I like D. Winters a lot. I do have some semblance of belief in Tatum Bethune. Maybe you can go sign a veteran not named Devondre Campbell this offseason before training camp, and hopefully you can get Michael Kendricks maybe, or Eric Kendricks, whatever his name is, who's burned you last year. I think he's a serviceable player for 1 year, a Band-Aid, if you will. But I think they like Chris Paul a lot. I think, to be honest with you, I mainly picked him for his nickname, which is Pooh. His name is Pooh Paul. And so I would love if he had 6 sacks last year as a blitzing linebacker. I want to hear Troy Aikman, Joe Buck say, "Oh my God, he pooed on the quarterback." And it's like, this is awesome. Like, we're having fun in the booth again on ESPN Monday Night Football. But he's 6'1", 222 pounds, out of Mississippi, Ole Miss, partnered with Walter Nolan and many guys out there, Jared Ivey as well. 85 tackles, 54 defensive stops last year, which I don't know what that is. That is plays for negative yards or 0 yards. So he's at the line of scrimmage, making plays, hit 24 pressures, 6 sacks, 4 pass defenses, 1 pick, and 1 forced fumble. One, and probably the biggest drawback to Chris Pooh Paul, if you will, he doesn't really have the length. You'll want 29 and 7/8 inch arms, so a little shorter, probably can't, clog those passing lanes very well. There's guys like, Jeffrey Bassa, Sean Dolak, those guys can, but Chris Paul, again, it's a nitpick, but it's there. You sometimes a fingertip can change the entirety of a game. We've seen it plenty of times at the NFL level, but against the run, the anchor really isn't great. You wish it was a little stronger, but like you said, the Niners love guys that can come downhill. And in my notes, I have Chris Pooh Paul comes downhill with intention. He wants to slap somebody around with the poo. He wants to get him dirty, get him muddy, and shove them right into the ground. He wants to put those dudes in the toilet and give it a flush. He is ready to go. Give him a swirly. He can flip those hips in coverage.
You're getting tackled by a guy whose nickname's Pooh. Pooh takes him down. I mean, hey man, that just sounds perfect.
It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome. Again, he has natural leverage because of his size. He's a smaller guy, so if you want to blitz him, he can get in there and wreak some havoc on the offensive line. Knows how to fill gaps against the run. Only a 7.6% missed tackle rate. One of the most underrated areas this team needs to improve is the missed tackle percentage. Too many missed tackles. How do you stop the run? Make tackles. This team last year could not tackle to save their life. Chris Paul, despite his arm length being not very long, under 30 inches, he knows how to tackle ball carriers, quarterbacks, and receivers. There are times he'll miss tackles, but that's more of a diagnostic issue compared to a skill issue. And I think he's really good in coverage. He has the instincts, and a well-known pro comp for him. I want to let you guess. I'll give you a hint here. Former Niner linebacker, played in 2019, 2020, actually got traded, I think, in 2020, but former Niner linebacker, was on that 2019 Super Bowl roster that didn't get it done.
Aziz Al-Shire?
No.
Quan
Alexander.
And I was kind of looking for more of a Zach Thomas from the Dolphins from back in the day, considering he's undersized with small arms. Maybe even a Chris Borland.
It's kind of a sawed-off shotgun with the neck brace. Like, who am I killing next?
Dude,
like
Zach
Stone
Taylor
Cold Steve Austin from
Yes.
The Longest Yard. Like, whoa.
Yes. Dropping stunners on, poo with the stunner, man. Like, that would be amazing.
If the words poo with a stunner came out of a broadcaster's mouth, it would be the best day of my life. That would be awesome. I think he's a great player. I think he has the instincts to play zone or man coverage. I think that you can coach up some of the problems they have, again, just overrunning plays at times, but Dre Greenlaw did that too.
Yep.
I just want to say this. Whoever they draft should never be compared to Dre Greenlaw, who is one of the best linebackers in Niner history. He just is. And so I'm really worried people are going to do that. Oh, he's not Dre Greenlaw. Well, you shouldn't ask the guys to be, but I think Chris Paul, they like him. They had him in for a visit. And I think he could be someone they target at pick 100.
Nice. We run up. We jump up to pick 118 with running back DJ Giddens from Kansas State.
Yes.
It's going to happen, folks. They're going to draft the linebacker at some point in this draft. That's just how it goes. What's the 411 on DJ Giddens? What kind of back are we looking at?
Yeah, I do want to make it clear that I did trade back here from pick 113 to 118, and I also got pick 218. So only moved back a few picks. I don't think San Francisco would want to do that. I just thought the value was better moving back, giving you more ammo late in the draft on day 3 to kind of round out your roster, get guys you like late, maybe some more project players you may like. But that's one of 3 trades I made. But a lot of those trades were, again, in the 100s, late day 2, round 3, round 4 things. But talking about DJ Giddens, when I tell you last year, I fell in love with Isaac Guerendo early. And I was like, this is my guy. He's a Niner guy. Kyle loves him. You can just tell. Wide zone. There's some injury stuff there. May fall in the draft. And he did. Kyle traded up for him actually last year. And I was not shocked at all. This year, the Niners traded Jordan Mason away. They got to find a player that is arguably better than Isaac Guerendo day 1. They have to find a bona fide number 2 running back because they don't have that. I like Guerendo. He gives you a lot of high potential. There's speed. There's 4.3 speed. There's receiving ability. There's health problems, though. And McCaffrey also has health problems. You have to find yourself somebody that, although you love both those players, CMC and Guerendo, you got to find a more, I don't want to say proven, but someone that can be reliable for you in between the tackles. And I have focused my sights on Kansas State's DJ Giddens, 6'1", 210 pounds, so a pretty good size for a running back.
Good size running back, yeah.
This past year, Kansas State, over 1,300 yards on the ground, 862 after contact. He forced 54 missed tackles last year, 7 rushing touchdowns, had 37 runs of 10-plus yards. There's one cut ability. There's speed there. He has the frame to hold up in pass protection, and he does thankfully have a feel for pressure, where it's coming from, where it's going at, where's the blitzer at. He'll pick it up. You can use some help on the anchor, but there's a willingness to do that there, which some guys just don't have in this year's draft class. He's got great vision out of the backfield. He's a patient runner. One of the biggest knocks on Guerendo last year was he had the speed. You have the ability to cut. The vision was lacking. And the more he played, the more he got comfortable, ready to go. I think DJ Giddens,
a lot of 1 yard and falling down kind of runs.
Right. Not finding the hole, getting stuffed on first down, kind of putting the offense behind the chains and like, okay, now it's 2nd and 9, 2nd and 10. What do we do? DJ Giddens is a guy that falls forward on each play. He wants to get the extra yard for you. He'll find the small hole. He'll fit through it. Again, there is some play strength questions, maybe some effort issues, but overall, I think as a running back, you'll love him. And one of the great things about this is that he's not a receiver. He had 5 drops on 32 targets last year. He just doesn't have good hands as a receiver. However, that's where Isaac Guerendo comes into play. Receiver background, 4.3 speed, rotate these suckers, get these guys all in the backfield, and you can have yourself a 3-headed monster, if you will, with CMC, who I think should take on a more Deebo Samuel-like role this year as a slot receiver, on screens and stuff. Get Giddens in your backfield, and you get a wide zone, productive back behind CMC, and Guerendo uses that 4.3 speed that you love to have these explosive plays on top of it.
Yeah, get Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield this season. Let other guys run the ball. He's a bona fide receiver as a running back. Dude is that good. Yeah. We got to figure out. We know well, Sterling, that Kyle Shanahan doesn't believe in rotation of backs. He just runs people into the ground until they get injured.
Right.
They have to change that mindset. They have to, because like it just doesn't work, man. You beat people down, and then you have what happened last year, where a guy essentially both of his Achilles were like, "Yeah, we're tapping out for a season. See ya. We'll come back next year, maybe." He sounds like a 49er running back to me, minus the hands. You know, that zone stretch zone run that they'd like to run, that old Denver Broncos running game from the 80s with, Terrell Davis and all those other running backs. So yeah, he does. He sounds just like, but the hands is a big thing though. That is huge.
Right.
But if they use them for what they're using them for, like you said, if they just strictly run the ball with them, then yeah, I could see him. And he almost sounds like a Niner player that should already be on the roster, man. I'm kind of sold on him. There's
2 other running backs I want to kind of let you know about, because again, wide zone's a pretty common scheme now. Vikings, Rams, Niner, they all use it. The Browns use it too. Watch out for Brashard Smith from SMU. More of a receiver. He played receiver at Miami, but fully converted the running back this past year at SMU. Not a 3-down back, not going to be a guy you have in there in 1st, 2nd, and 3rd down, but a guy you like as a receiver. May make Guerendo somewhat redundant unless you believe Guerendo can be the number 2 back this year. But he's very explosive. He has that short area 1 back or 1 cut back explosive ability. Over 1,300 yards, 14 touchdowns, 55 force base tackles, and 36 explosive runs as a senior this past year. And I think a sleeper that I would be a little upset if he went to San Francisco on day 2 or early on day 3 is Ollie Gordon III from Oklahoma State. 6'1", 220 pounds, a bigger back.
Wow.
His stock completely tanked this year. He was atrocious. He looked injured. He looked stiff. There was no vision. There was no burst. And it was really confusing because in 2023, he looked like a, put the card in now, 1st round pick, early day 2, round 2 pick. And I don't know what happened. It just cratered. I don't know if it was an injury. I don't know if it was, just the offense didn't do what they needed to do. They kind of got out of the wide zone scheme. I think there is a chance Kyle may view him as a day 3 pick and a bigger back in those goal line situations. I think there is a way he can be a power back that can push the pile, give you short yardage. Again, I wouldn't love it at pick 118 or 100 or 125, but you get into the 150s, 160s in a loaded running back class. Just watch out for Ollie Gordon III, or second, from Oklahoma.
Little Otis Anderson from back in the old days with the New York Giants. That's what he sounds like. Big, slow, heavy power back. I haven't seen a power back in the NFL in ages. A guy that just runs downhill that is massive, other than what's his face from formerly of the Titans and now the Baltimore.
Oh, Derrick Henry.
Yeah, he is, but he's one of one. There's not much to say about that. We go back to defensive line at pick 125. The defensive lineman, I would assume tackle.
Yes.
Vernon Broughton. What is the story on Vernon Broughton?
Yeah, so I actually traded up here with the Chargers. Okay. I got pick 125 and acquired pick 199, and I gave them pick 138, pick 160, and pick 249. So did some maneuvering around, some kind of I move up, you move up in different rounds this year to kind of get back up for a defensive lineman. We already got Darius Alexander. We got Michael Williams. I wanted to make it a point to get a pass rushing defensive tackle. Right. San Francisco seemingly has their eyes on Omar Norman Lott from Tennessee. I didn't take him here. I could have. I think he'll be an early day 2 pick. They like him a lot, but if you can't get him, go Vernon Broughton. Again, 35-inch arms, 6'5", 311 pounds. Only 23 years old as a fifth-year senior, so there is some use still there. He's a good pass rusher. He gets off with the explosiveness. He has good quick feet, strong torso, strong upper body. He's a very technically sound and refined pass rusher out of Texas. He has the club move, the swim move. He has the rip, the bull rush. He does all these things you like, where when most guys come into the NFL, they have one move or they have no moves. This guy can do it 4 different ways, get to the quarterback, attack the offensive lineman. You do wish he was a little bit more bendy and kind of sink his hips a little more, get that leverage. Being 6'5", you will see times where the interior offensive linemen get under his pads, get him out of the play. But if he's your third down defensive lineman on 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 6, go after the quarterback, I think there's a good possibility he can be a really good player for you at the NFL level. He's not going to be a great run defender, but you already got Darius Alexander. I think there is a possibility here where San Francisco, if they want to double dip, they can go Cameron Jackson from Florida later in this draft too, around the same range. He's more of a run defending, space heater defensive tackle for you. But I think that Vernon Broughton can be that third down, get to the quarterback at will defensive lineman for you.
Yeah, I like the fact that he's tall. Sounds a little bit like the old Buckner and Armstead. They had a little bit of a taller defensive tackle, not quite a 6'7", but I think interior pass rush is something that I feel like the 49ers have lacked in a long time. They always they've had the edge presence here and there, but one thing I've always noticed about the Niners is that they get a lot of push up the field or on the edge, but interior they always seem to be gouged, whether it's in the run or the pass game. So I'm all for, even if he's a one-trick pony, like you said, and he only comes in on passing down plays at this point in the draft, I am fine with that. It's kind of where you start making moves like that as you get farther away from the top of the draft. Top of the draft, you're drafting people to play a specific position. Right. Whereas you get into the later part of the draft, you can kind of say, okay, we need a third down, what do they call it? The NASCAR package. Bring somebody in here whose only job is to rush the passer. He's not going to be in on first and second down. So I'm totally like, I look at your draft and I'm like, is it all going to be defensive linemen at some point in this draft? Like, are they ever going to draft? I mean, any offensive lineman whatsoever? I keep in my mind while you were talking, I keep thinking about like how much influence is, defensive coordinator Robert Saleh going to have, for whatever guys lack, who we drafted, whatever their weaknesses are, how much can he make up for that? That's going to be the question this year, especially with a lot of it being a lot of young players. We'll see. Then you don't not have a lot of established people on this defensive line other than Nick Bosa going into next season. So Salah's influence and his blueprint's going to have to be all over these young guys because the experience is not there for sure.
Well, that's a big conversation I think you have in the first round because you can go edge rusher or go defensive tackle. Now, again, I would go Walter Nolan, Derek Harmon, get you a higher potential defensive tackle on the interior. I think it's more needed for what they have. You love Bosa, obviously. You like Samo a lot. As kind of a third, fourth edge rusher. You like Yetur Gross-Matos enough to keep him around. I don't think they're as thin an edge rusher. Hence why I would go defensive tackle early and kind of get a Landon Jackson on day 2 or a Femi Oladejo on day 2 from UCLA or JT Tuimoloau from Ohio State on day 2, kind of a higher floor, lower ceiling guy that can just be Mr. Consistent opposite Bosa that can work on the offensive lineman. But, they got holes on the interior. Hargrave was supposed to be the kind of pass rushing, get to the quarterback guy and got hurt and really wasn't much of a factor in year 1.
What a bad signing.
Malik Collins was, I think they should have kept him, but that's just me.
Right.
Malik Collins was also that pass rushing defensive tackle. I think had you already had Malik Collins, instead of Vernon Broughton, you'd go with Cameron Jackson. You'd shoot for a CJ West who just eats space. And if you walked into this year with Malik Collins and Darius Alexander and even Vernon Broughton or CJ West, like you look around and you go, okay, it's not great, but it certainly isn't bad anymore like it was last year with Evan Anderson and Kalia Davis and Jordan Elliott. There are some pieces there, although lower tier pieces. So, the building blocks aren't there. San Francisco has to kind of rebuild that foundation, which oddly enough, they cut guys to save very minimal money on the defensive line, Floyd and Collins, but teach their own. But I think that getting Broughton, Alexander, and Michael Williams, albeit I go Mike Green, could give you that foundation again.
We will see. The draft is in what? Next
6
Thursday?
days. Yeah.
8 p.m. Eastern. Can't wait. I'm so looking forward to it. Pick 147, a name we know well. Kobe Bryant.
My favorite.
Cornerback, Kansas.
Man, do I love myself Kobe Bryant. And the reason why I love this is because, one, San Francisco has very feisty cornerbacks, guys that want to fight. They want to get under your skin. They want to be that pesky gnat. And I think there is a player like that probably available earlier in the draft. Jacob Parrish from Kansas State, shorter guy, probably going to be a nickel back at the NFL level. However, if San Francisco likes Trey Brown enough to have him be a placeholder in year 1 or be a guy that plays half the year, then kind of gets you sharped later in the year, you like Darrell Luter Jr., you love Green, you love Lenore. When I tell you Kobe Bryant, who's a thin player, 5'10", 180 pounds, he's really thin frame. He's got long arms, though. He's sticky in man coverage. He's going to make you earn every single yard as a receiver. Again, he wants to fight you. He wants to hand fight you all the time in a good way. He very much has traits that San Francisco loves for their early day 3 cornerbacks, late day 2 cornerbacks. He wants to get under your skin. He's an opportunistic player, and he will this is my favorite trait, if he beats you and he stops you, he's going to let you know about it. He's going to get in your face. He's going to let you know. He's going to be loud, going to be obnoxious. He won't get penalized for it. He's smart, but he going to get in your grill. I was begging the Seahawks to not trade DK Metcalf because I wanted to see him play Kobe Bryant and Lenore twice a year to see how frustrated he can get, because if he beats you, he'll be the guy down at the gym playing basketball who dunks on you, who breaks your ankles and then walks over you, gets in your face and says, what you going to do about it? He'll be chirping at you all day. He's a willing and good tackler and run defender. He wants to get his hands dirty. And I tell you, just simply from a size standpoint and a mentality standpoint, Kobe Bryant screams San Francisco 49er defender. And I love him so much. If he's not ours this year, I'm going to be just pissed off because I want him so bad.
He sounds like a shorter version of Richard Sherman,
I won't go that far because Sherman's going to be a Hall of Famer one day.
Hall of Famer, yeah. But when you talk about a guy that liked to chirp, especially when he was successful, and Sherman is the longer, skinnier, not a really big corner as far as body mass. He was a little bit taller for sure. I'm all about defensive backs that talk trash.
Yes,
that you have to at that position. You have to have an ego at corner because you're the last line of defense. So if you're really good and you can shut down a passing game like you think that Kobe Bryant could if he became a 49er, I'm all for it. And it looks like whatever you use for the draft, whatever website that you use, they like the pick as well. You got to be on that one, man. So Nice move.
Funny enough, my mid-round, my day 3 was much better according to the mock draft than my day 1. So it's very on par for the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh, unbelievable. We go to pick 194, edge rusher from Minnesota, Ja Joyner. What a name, Ja.
Which somehow got the best grade in my entire mock draft.
That's crazy.
I think Ja Joyner, and again, I traded up for this pick. I traded away 199 that we got from the Chargers and traded away 252, which was our own. So 3 straight picks, 3 straight trades, I believe, for the San Francisco 49ers. And I think, Ja, he's one of those players that you got to have an edge rusher, obviously. You got Micah Williams. You don't need to get 4 or 5 of those guys. You just need to have good quality ones. And you have Bosa, Samo, Gross Matos. You drafted Michael Williams. You'll find guys as UDFAs and free agents, guys that can rotate. Austin Bryant's somewhere. I don't know where he's at, but he's somewhere in the room. But Ja Joyner, 6'4", 255 pounds, 73.8 pass rushing grade, 75.4 run defense grade, 35 pressures, 4.5 sacks, a 12.8 pass rush win rate. He had a 23% pass rush win rate in 2023. So a dip in production, but with Saleh, Kocurek, you're hoping he can kind of get back to his 2023 form. He's got long arms, he's got heavy hands, and he's got that massive frame you love. Not the biggest run defender when his hand's in the dirt, so you're going to kind of have to work that out. He's a player that is kind of trying to work on his body still. Again, 6'4", 255. You want to kind of change his density level. But when you talk about getting somebody in the building that I think can outplay Robert Beal Jr. on day 1, you got someone there, and Beal Jr. is somehow penciled in at DE5 on this team. So if you can get a DE5 on pick 194, that's a win for you if you're San Francisco.
That's a very, very low bar to have to jump over. Beal
You're
and
right.
Jackson.
You're
Jackson's probably not even going to play in it again.
Probably
in the
ever
NFL.
again. Yeah. Which sucks, but
Robert Beal. A lot of people call him Larry Beal, and I'm one of those people too, and I don't know why. But yeah, hey, and he sounds again. Ja Joyner almost sounds again like a pass rush. Third down. You say that he has issues with the run, at least for now, playing it, and he has to work on his body. So again, the Niners need depth.
He's one of those guys that maybe in a year you have him kind of be the inside-outside versatility player, where it's like, on the NASCAR package, you're playing on the interior.
So right? He would be essentially another version of Gross Matos.
Exactly, which on a 1-year deal. So if you can stash him for a year, have him be somewhat of a piece, give somebody a break here or there, why not?
Right. And then we're down to 2 players. I would assume they're both 7th rounders.
Yes.
Tight end Jalen Conyers.
Conyers.
Oh my God. I'm illiterate, guys. Tight end, Texas Tech.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of smoke around San Francisco adding another tight end. They, from all indications, they love Bowling Green's Harold Fannin Jr. And I would not be shocked to watch them take him. I pick 75, pick 100, trade up for him in some round. The issue is that this is a deep tight end class, but there's so many this guy's a blocking tight end. This guy's a receiving tight end. This guy can't play in line. That guy can play in line. And even Colston Loveland, who may go in the first round this year, although I don't think it'll happen, he has some injury history. So it's kind of a pick your poison. Everyone kind of has, these kind of quirks you don't like and you love. But the Niners have talked to Jalen Conyers a handful of times during the scouting process. This past year at Texas Tech, he had 30 receptions for 320 yards and 5 touchdowns. He was out wide for 18 snaps, in the slot for 142 snaps. Again, all of his grades are good. He has 75.2 fumble grade, a 75.4 pass blocking grade. You can kind of move him around, although I don't think he's going to be a number 2 tackle tight end on day 1. You have Kittle, You like Luke Farrell enough. I don't really think that he's a player you put out there and say, go start for us, but he's a good run blocker, an 80.1 run blocking grade last year. I think he becomes your tight end 3. He's a guy who, because if you look at the kind of the structure of Luke Farrell's deal, they really aren't tied to him for a long time. So I can see if they want to stash Conyers for a year or two as Luke Farrell's contract progresses. I can see him kind of becoming a tight end 2, but it'll take a lot to get there. If you look at what he's done, he kind of eats in between the numbers over the last couple of years at Texas Tech. This past season, we had 21 of his 40 targets over the middle. He caught 18 of those passes. So he's pretty sure-handed, doesn't drop the ball very much. He's not going to give you too much yak, but he's a player that, funny enough, he can kind of give you a little more yak when he's catching the ball behind the line of scrimmage. So I wouldn't call him a gadget player, but there's something there they like. Again, I don't love him. I'm not tied to him by any means. By far not my favorite tight end, but this is what I think they could do and will do in the NFL draft. And when you talk to a guy a lot, it kind of starts to put the pieces of the puzzle together. And at 218, no harm, no foul, get you a tight end 3 that can block. And again, no block, no rock. So if you have 3 guys that can block for you, why not?
Again, with the tight ends that we've had in the past, again, not a really big high bar to jump over.
No, it's not.
Other than George Kittle. And then we go to pick 227, Craig Woodson. Yes. Not Roger Craig, pick. Not Rod Woodson, Craig Woodson. Safety, California.
Yeah, Craig Woodson is one of those players that I don't want to say gets overlooked because he plays at Cal, but there is something to that where you have your SEC schools, your Clemsons, you have your Ohio States, guys there that again are going to get more hype, going to get talked about more, but Craig Woodson is just an overall good player. I think he'll go earlier than this. So again, forgive the mock drafts. They're usually wrong where people go. It's always an estimate. But when you talk about, he's 6 foot, 210 pounds from California. So he's a local kid. And I've gone back and forth on this because, and I think you'll disagree with me, but I think they'll go into next year with Jair Brown and Matt Mustafa being their safeties.
No, I don't disagree with you. I have a feeling that's what it's going to be too. I'm telling myself no way because of how poorly he played in the run game in Buffalo. That game to me, his lack of run fits and just bad effort all around was rough. And I think that's why a lot of us got excited for 5 minutes when Hufanga played and Greenlaw played for that little bit of time. We were like, It feels like the old days because like they're hitting people and tackling people. But then if you watch Hufanga in one of those games, he was flying past people too. He was missing tackles as well. So as much as I don't like Jair Brown to start at safety across from Mustafa, I think you're right. It's going to happen.
When kind of in that same conversation, like they bring in Jason Pinnock, they bring in Richie Grant, they have George Odom, they have 5 safeties, if you want to call them that. And I'm not like a lot of people I've seen them, getting Malachi Moore, who I really like from Alabama, has great ball skills, but I've seen people mocking like a safety in round 3, round 4. And I'm like, there's no way I'm taking a safety in this class in round 3 or 4. I just can't do it. No one screams to me. You can maybe pitch me on the idea of Andrew Makuba from Texas. He can play free safety. He can play nickel. He can do all these things you like. He's one of those guys that just happens to always find himself in the right place at the right time. And sometimes you want those guys on your team. RJ Mickens from Clemson, 6 foot, 200 pounds, fits that in the box safety they like a lot. He's not going to give you that free safety stuff, but Craig Woodson does give you more of that free safety look. And I think San Francisco, if you're going to go with Mustafa and you're going to have Lenore, in this case, Kobe Bryant, Trey Brown, Bernardo Green, it will pay you, at least in my opinion. Like if you want to play single high safety, well, I want a roaming free safety. And it's one of the things that Deshaun Gibson was so good at, despite his age and despite his size. He could roam around and play center field for you. didn't have great speed, but he'd make it up. He's a good tackler. I think Craig Woodson fits a lot of that mold for you. Again, 6 foot, 200 pounds. Although it does say as Pockets, the Cheesecake says 5 seasons at Cal, only played 4, didn't play in 2021. So
great name, by the way.
Technically you're right. But again, nuances here. But last year was really good as a safety in coverage, an 88.6 coverage grade. He's a sure tackler, 84.1 tackling grade, and a run defender, 85.6. So overall, really good player. 73 tackles last year, only missed 8 tackles all year long for an 8.6 missed tackle rate, had 24 run stops, and allowed a 71.7 reception grade, which really isn't too bad for a safety. And at the NFL level, you look at what he's done, from a pass rating allowed, only 74.8. So there's a lot of reasons to like, Craig Woodson. I think he can be that roaming free safety, single high safety that San Francisco hasn't really had since Jimmy Ward. Now, again, I'm not calling him Jimmy Ward, but I think this team operates better when they have the Hufanga type, the hard hitting in the box safety, and they have that guy that can play center field for you, good in coverage, can bat balls down, and actually defend the deep pass. This team at this point cannot defend the deep pass. Jair Brown's too slow, and Mustafa's great. I love him. I think he's going to be a superstar at safety for us. But if you can get some help there, because he comes downhill with like a cannonball.
Yes.
You want to utilize him that way. You got to have that roaming free safety behind him. So I'd go Craig Woodson in a heartbeat.
And there you have it, people. That is your 2025 NFL draft, at least for today.
Yes. It'll change by tomorrow.
With Sterling Bennett, again, friend of the channel. Hopefully looking forward to doing some more content as the year comes closer. Right now, I'm just kind of chilling. I started a new channel about comic book stuff, but really haven't done much with that. But I'm really looking forward to the draft. I'm not saying I disagree with how you have things kind of, stacked as far as
Aaron, we're done. The friendship's over. No more podcasts. You hate what I did. I'm out of here, man. I'm out of here.
I don't know if the 6 people on my channel are going to be able to deal with that. No, I mean, I every mock draft that I did this past off season, I've gone edge, tackle with my first 4 picks.
Right.
The only reason I say that, and they're not going to do that. I mean, it could. It's just because, like we said in the beginning of the stream, they just have put themselves in a position where nothing else really makes sense because they've gutted that defensive line so much. And, everything we got now, they're nice rotational depth pieces. I mean, we essentially need to rebuild the whole starting defensive line. Essentially, it's Nick Bosa and a bunch of castaways, the way I look at it right now. So I do not see a trade up as much as I did report that there could be a possibility of
trade back. I don't think anyone's moving up or moving down this year.
Just based on how this draft is falling, you think a lot of people are going to stay put?
I think every team, minus the Titans and the Giants and the Browns, I think they would love to trade back. I just don't think anybody either has the picks to do so or values the first round as much as they did the past couple of years. Take the receivers, for example. The last couple of years, it's been 5 receivers each round, 8 receivers in the first round. You're like, oh my God, there's game-changing receivers out there in the first round, in the 20s, in round 2. Like last year, Ladd McConkey was awesome. He's a round 2 pick. Pearsall was a first-round pick. You have Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr. You have game-changing receivers. This year, it's guys that you may like and may or may not fit your scheme. You have McNillan from Arizona, but he's more of a Cortland Sutton who you really like. But if Cortland Sutton's your one, who you like a lot, you got to have some more pieces around him. I love Cortland Sutton. I would have traded Ayuk for him in a 3rd round pick last year. I was cool with that. I just don't think most teams want to move up. I don't think there's prospects to even consider moving up 4 unless you're in that, near top 10 range, which San Francisco is, but the Raiders probably get Ashton Genty. They don't want to trade back there. The Panthers have their pick of the litter at the edge rushing group. You probably don't want to trade back there. Then it's the Saints who are rebuilding, but Kellen Moore may want to take an offensive lineman or the best player available there, which it wouldn't shock me, knowing they're probably going to be inside the top 10 a lot more going forward, especially if Derek Carr can't play, which even if he was playing, it probably wouldn't matter anyways.
Exactly.
Because he sucks.
Yeah, he's pretty bad. What's the plan for Sterling Bennett? I mean, I know a lot of, we're sharing the stream, but what's the plan going forward from now until next Thursday night as far as content goes? Because you're pretty regular with content. I am not right now this time of year. So for those of you who enjoy content all the time.
Yeah, so I recorded the video today. I have to edit it and hopefully get it out by the weekend, but it is going to be, I kind of went through the fan base and kind of got the pulse of their NFL draft hot takes, Niners or not, and I reacted to those and kind of gave the fans a voice and kind of got what they were wanting to say out there and reacted to it. I like some, I dislike some, but I wanted to kind of get the voice of the fan base and see what they were saying as the draft approaches. Gonna have our probably final 49ers 7-round mock draft coming out on Monday, and I'm hoping on Wednesday we have a final first round mock draft, both predictive, both trying to figure out exactly what these teams are going to do this year, because it's confusing. We all have questions and we all want some answers, and I hope I can maybe give those answers to a couple of people out there. Last year we got Pearsall right, got Grendo right, even got Malik Mustafa right. So we have 3 hits, and hopefully we can get a couple more this year in the draft.